The sky over Sector Delta 19 burned red as the last human dropship disappeared beyond the clouds. The war was over. The Zarkith had finally been pushed back after years of bloody fighting. But for one mother on Earth, the war had never ended. Han. Meeson stood in her small apartment, eyes locked on the dusty photo of her daughter. Her name was Yoonji, a student, a dreamer. Barely 20 when she signed up as a civilian medical volunteer. That was 2 years ago, before the attack on Sigma Colony, before Yoonji vanished. The government listed her as missing presumed. Dead. But Mason never accepted it. She lit a small candle under the photo every evening. Her daughter's soft face stared back, forever smiling in her old school uniform. Masoon whispered the same words every night. "Come back to me, my child, please." No answer. No knock at the door. Only silence. Until one cold night, everything changed. Far above Earth, on the outer rim of a dying planet, a battle was being fought in silence. Sergeant Bree Duhayan wiped blood from his chin as the explosion threw him against the broken wall of a ruined tower. His exosuit cracked at the shoulder. Fire screamed through the hallway. "Bree, the girl's in there," shouted his squadmate over the "Comes copy, I'll get her." The mission was not to save civilians. They were here to destroy the last. Zark hath stronghold, but Bree had found something else. Someone else. A distress signal. Weak. Human frequency. Buried under rubble and static, he kicked the door open. Inside the dark cell, something moved. It wasn't an alien. It wasn't a trap. It was a girl. Thin, pale, shaking. Her uniform was old, blood-stained. Her eyes were swollen from crying. But she was alive. She looked up at Bree with disbelief. "You're human," she whispered. "Yeah," he said. "Shh. Safe now." She stared at him, lips trembling. They said no one would come. Bree didn't wait. He lifted her over his shoulder, shielded her with his armor, and ran through fire. Outside, the battlefield was collapsing. The last air transport was minutes away from launch. "Name?" Bree asked as they ran. "Yoonji," she gasped. "Han Yoonji." Bree's boots slammed against the platform as the transport doors began to close. Soldiers yelled, artillery hit behind them. He dove in at the last second, shielding her with his body. The doors sealed. The engines roared. They made it. Back on. Earth's Misoon didn't know any of this. She only knew the world still turned without her daughter. The pain didn't fade. People around her moved on. But she didn't. Until that morning, a knock at the door. Masan opened it with tired eyes. A man stood there in uniform, tall, strong, with rough hands and quiet eyes. "Mrs. Han?" he asked. "Yes," she whispered, already afraid. "I'm Sergeant Bree. I think you should come with me." "Why? What happened?" Bree smiled. "She's waiting for you." And that was when the ground fell out from under her. In the hospital ward of the United Terran Recovery Center, Yoonji sat on the edge of the bed. Dressed in clean clothes, thin and weak but breathing. Her long hair had been cut. Scars marked. Her arms, but her eyes were alive. She looked up as the door opened. Her heart stopped. "Mom." Misan's hands trembled. Her breath caught in her throat. Yoonji. The girl stood on shaking legs. "Mom, I'm home," she whispered, her voice breaking. "He rescued me." Bree stood behind them, watching as the two embraced. It was the reunion no one thought possible. But no one knew what Yoonji had really been through. Not yet. Not the underground prison. Not the experiments. Not the Zarkoth's whispers. Not the secret she carried inside her, as she sobbed in her mother's arms. Something deep inside her chest pulsed quiet and blue. And Sergeant Bree. He hadn't told anyone what he saw in that prison. Not the creature she spoke to before he broke her free. Not the glowing stone embedded in the wall that responded to her touch, and not the voice she whispered to in her sleep. "You promised you wouldn't leave me behind," she said quietly that night, eyes closed. Lying in the hospital bed, Bree sat near the window, watching the stars. He didn't answer, because something had come back with them. Something hidden. And The war, it might not be over after all. He saved me. But something followed us. The ship floated through deep space. Silent, dark. Inside the med bay, Era sat alone beside Sergeant Bree. His body was still. Tubes ran through his chest. Machines beeped slowly. He had not moved since. They left the Dravian station. His side had been torn open by a plasma bolt. The medic Dawn said the damage was serious. She had stopped the bleeding, but his body was weak. Too weak, Ara didn't move. She just held his hand, whispering softly. You came for me. Didn't even know me, but you came. She had cried so much that no more tears would come. Now, only silence sat with her. Something else. She could feel it. It was still. Inside her, that glowing blue light, it had entered her in the prison. The Dravians had forced her to stand in front of it, a strange rock, glowing and humming like a heartbeat. She didn't remember much, only the sound it made, and the strange way it made her body feel warm, alive, and then cold. Had spoken to her, not in words, but in her mind. You are the door. She didn't tell anyone. Not yet. She was afraid. Back on Earth, news of the rescue spread fast. A soldier had gone rogue to save a forgotten girl. The media called him the ghost of Tyson 4. Pictures of Ara and Bree flashed across every screen, but not everyone was happy. Earth Alliance Command wanted answers. Who gave the order? How did they reach the Dravian zone? Else did they bring back? They didn't know. Not yet. Sue-Me stood at the space terminal, trembling. She had not eaten since the call. Her hands gripped the photo of Era. She still feared it was a dream, that the voice on the phone was fake. Then, the ship landed, the ramp opened, and there she was. Ara stepped out slowly, pale and thin, her legs shaking. Sumi gasped. Ara's lips opened. Then she cried out, "Mom!" She ran. The crowd watched as the girl jumped into her mother's arms. Screams turned to silence. Reporters wept. Soldiers saluted. Even guards lowered their eyes. Sumi held her daughter like she would never let go. You're here. You're really here. But behind them, medics wheeled out Bree. His face was pale, his eyes shut. Era turned fast. Wait, he saved me. Please save him. The crowd parted as doctors pushed him away. Hours later in a hospital, Era sat near Bree's bed. Sumi stayed beside her. Why did he come? Sumi asked gently. He didn't even know you. Era shook her head. He said, my picture reminded him of someone he lost. They both looked at the quiet man sleeping under the white lights. Then, without warning, the lights flickered. A low hum filled the air. Machines buzzed. The hospital screen turned blue. Era gasped. That sound? It pulsed. It was the same sound she heard in the prison. The same blue light. Bree's body jerked. Doctors rushed in. His heart, one shouted, "It's restarting!" Ara saw something else. His veins, they were glowing faintly. It's the same color as the stone, and in her chest she felt it too. A warmth. A pressure. Something had awakened. Later that night, Era sat by the window. Sumi had fallen asleep in the chair. The hospital was quiet. She closed her eyes, and she heard it again. You are the door. She stood and looked at her hands. They glowed only faintly, but it was real. She rushed into the hallway, heart pounding. She found Bree's room. The nurses had left. He was alone, but he was awake, barely. He turned his head and smiled weakly. You're okay. You're alive, she said. You should be dead." He coughed, then nodded. "Something healed me." Ara stepped closer. "It's inside us." He looked at her with wide eyes. "You too." They didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, "They weren't just imprisoning us. Dravians were, protecting something or hiding it." Era remembered the other children. Some were sick. Some had marks on their skin. She was the only one taken to the stone. "What is it?" she asked. Bree's voice grew cold. "A weapon, or something worse." Suddenly, alarm screamed outside. The base shook. Soldiers yelled, "Breach! Unknown entity detected." Ada's heart dropped. She turned to the window and saw it, falling from the sky as shadow, a black craft shaped like a claw. It wasn't DHR avian. It was older. It landed hard. The ground cracked. Soldiers ran, guns aimed, but it didn't attack. It opened. From it stepped a single figure, tall, thin. Its body was made of dark smoke and metal bones. It didn't walk, it floated. Ara felt her knees shake. She knew it. It had spoken to her before. "You are the door." The creature raised one hand. Soldiers fired. The bullet stopped in mid-dash air, then dropped. The sky darkened above them, inside the hospital. Lights went black. Patients screamed. Machines died. Only Ara still glowed. So did Bree. "It's here for us," Bree said. "We brought it with us." Ara whispered, "What do we do?" He looked at her eyes, burning with pain, but also courage. "We fight." Next hours were chaos. The creature reached out to Era, but she resisted. Something inside her pushed back. It's a force that burned bright. Bree stood beside her, armed, limping but ready. The light from his chest grew stronger with hers. Together, they faced the being. In the final moment, Ra grabbed Bree's hand. The creature stopped. "You are the door," it said again. "But not the only one," Era replied. And then a blast of light shot from their bodies. The creature screamed, folding into ash and wind. The sky cleared. Silence returned. Later, Earth Alliance covered it up. "Energy malfunction," they said. Nothing happened. But the people knew. They had seen it. They had seen the light. And they had seen, too, humans stand against something no one could understand. 1 year later, in a quiet town on Earth, Era and Sumi lived in peace. Their home was small, but warm. Bree visited every week. He still limped, still quiet, but he smiled more now. Era had started drawing again. Her sketches showed stars, ships, and strange shapes. Once she showed Bree a drawing of the blue stone. "Do you think more are out there?" she asked. He nodded. "I know there are, and we'll find them," she said. He smiled. Together. Outside, a breeze blew through the trees, but in the air, for just a moment, the wind whispered, "You are the light now." And they believed it, because in a galaxy full of darkness, sometimes all it takes is one human to bring someone home. And that's how the war truly began. Not with fire, but with hope, and a soldier who wouldn't leave a child behind.